Captain Sir Tom Moore, who became a beacon of spirit and hope in the gloom of the pandemic, has died after testing positive for COVID. The 100-year-old war veteran raised more than £30 million for the NHS, walking laps of his garden. It earned him a knighthood and the affection of a nation in desperate need of something to smile about.
It was only a little family joke, and look how it's gone global now.
Tonight, the Queen led tributes from around the world, and above Downing Street, flags were at half-mast in honour of a man who inspired so many others.
I want to thank him for the splendid example he gave us, guiding me to recognise what I could do and to get on and achieve it.
Also tonight, frantic efforts to accelerate testing as concerns grow about the latest mutations of the virus. But there is some good news on vaccines. And travel chaos in parts of northern England after more heavy falls of snow.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. The inspiring and selfless achievements of Captain Sir Tom Moore are being remembered tonight after his death at the age of 100. He contracted coronavirus last week and passed away today at Bedford Hospital with his family beside him. The Army veteran had led a remarkable life, but perhaps he saved the very best till last, raising almost £33 million for NHS charities by walking around his garden. He became a vivid symbol of determination and optimism as we all grappled with the challenges of the pandemic. The sight of Sir Tom battling onwards with his walking frame couldn't help but lift the spirits. Now tonight, the Downing Street flags are still at half-mast in tribute. The Prime Minister calling Sir Tom a national inspiration. Paul Davis, who filmed with Captain Tom during his fundraising, looks back at his impact and his legacy.
Eventually we'll win, or we always do win in this country. Sometimes it takes time, but this time we will certainly win.
With his special brand of optimism, just walking up and down his garden, Captain Tom Moore lifted the spirits of the nation when it needed it most. This afternoon, his family announced the end of an incredible life, saying, "The last year of our father's life was nothing short of remarkable. He was rejuvenated and experienced things he'd only ever dreamt of." At the start, the Army veteran had hoped to raise a few pounds for the NHS. The public response staggered him.
It was only a little family joke, and look how it's gone global now. I mean, it's unbelievable that people are so kind throughout the world as to contribute.
He's done it. You'll never walk alone. From Captain Tom Moore, Michael.
There was even a #1 record in collaboration with Michael Ball and the NHS Voices of Care Choir. Many happy returns.
Thank you very much.
By the time he celebrated his 100th birthday with a card from the Queen, a record £33 million had been raised, and 140,000 other birthday cards were testimony to this old soldier's place in the hearts of the British people. In the skies above his Bedfordshire home, a World War II fly past marked that special day, while Captain Tom and his family set up a foundation of charitable causes that would be his legacy. His efforts also inspired others. 5-year-old Tony Hudgell raised £1 million walking on new prosthetic legs. Former Scotland rugby captain Mike Bigger, who'd been paralysed in a car accident, found new strength to undertake a sponsored challenge of his own after seeing Captain Tom.
I want to thank him for the splendid example he gave us. Also, for thank him for making me, guiding me to recognise what I could do and to get on and achieve it.
As a young man, Tom Moore had already served his country in Burma and India during the Second World War. Tough times, he recalled.
It was hot. It was sweaty. It was unpleasant.
His military career ended with the rank of captain. But last summer, his fundraising was recognised with a knighthood. Captain Sir Tom Moore he became, with the Queen saying the amount he'd raised was amazing.
It was an amazing amount of money.
Today, she offered her condolences to his family. There is a sad irony that a man who did so much for the country through the pandemic should himself fall victim to it. He will be remembered with affection by those he supported and inspired. In a dark time, Captain Tom was truly a shining light.
Well, Captain Sir Tom's efforts caught the imagination of people from all walks of life and motivated young and old alike. And some of the many whom he inspired have been paying tribute, as our correspondent Rachel Younger reports.
You are my elder brother. I'm very proud to work with you for charity.
Captain Sir Tom Moore had a knack of bringing out the very best in people, and where he walked, others followed.
I'll be delighted to do that.
That unstinting encouragement spurring on Rajinder Singh to skip for the NHS. Just one of the millions Captain Tom inspired to help others, making friends as he went.
He was greatest person. He showed to young generation, although we are old, we still can do help other people and try your best until your last breath.
And you'd hope to meet when all this is over?
Honestly, we make a promise, and he said, "You're welcome, looking forward. We'll have a coffee together." And I was looking forward so eagerly until now.
But it wasn't just his own generation who loved him. 6-year-old Tony decided if Captain Tom could take step after step for the NHS, then so could he, spending the first lockdown learning to walk on prosthetic legs, to the delight of his family and the man who inspired him.
Well done, Tony. Haven't you done well?
Today, this little boy's lost his hero.
We all love Captain Tom, don't in this family.
Yeah, we all loved Captain Tom, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they weren't alone. His singing co-star Michael Ball tweeting, "Rest in peace, Captain Tom Moore. A wonderful life, so well lived, and a hero and fighter to the very end." From England's cricket team, of which he was an honorary member, RIP Sir Captain Tom Moore, an inspiration to us all. And Catherine Jenkins writing, "Tomorrow will be a good day because of how brightly you shone in all our lives." Like Formula One driver Lando Norris, they were just some of Captain Tom's heroes who he got to meet as his fame grew.
I'm sure that's where you'll get again. I mean, if you keep your driving as well as you're doing, you'll be the top man too.
Thank you very much. I need to be asking you for some more tips when I'm driving.
But not a single celebrity doubted who the real star was or matched the effect he had on others.
Especially in such a tough time, you know, when things aren't going well for everyone. It's nice to try and change someone's thoughts from negative to positive and think of the better side of the future. And I think that's exactly what he did.
Sir Tom promised us a better tomorrow. And although he won't be here to share it, the man who started his walk alone has ended his journey, having inspired millions of us to just keep going. Rachel Younger, ITV News.
And the memories of Captain Sir Tom Moore continue to flood in this evening. And within the last hour, the Prime Minister has added his own voice to the nation's tributes, describing the veteran as a beacon of hope for the world.
Captain Sir Tom Moore was a hero in the truest sense of the word. In the dark days of the Second World War, he fought for freedom, and in the face of this country's deepest post-war crisis, he united us all. He cheered us all up, and he embodied the triumph of the human spirit.
The Prime Minister speaking just a little bit earlier this evening, and Paul Davies is here now. Paul, remarkable tributes we see flooding in from all over the world. What was it about Captain Sir Tom Moore, do you think, that so inspired people?
Where do you start? But I tell you where we should start. We should start by giving our thoughts to his family, to his daughters, to his grandchildren, and all of those that we got to know as Team Tom, the special people behind him. As for Captain Tom himself, where on earth do you start? What a character. A sense of duty, a wicked sense of humour, cheeky. You've got to call him cheeky. And such humility. He was genuinely staggered by the public response and by everything that happened to him. And yes, as we've heard, he struck a chord. And he struck a chord with people around the world, but also especially with those who met him, and I was lucky enough to do that. When you left one of those lovely, socially distant half an hours that you spent with Captain Tom, you were uplifted. There is no getting away from that. Reporting this pandemic for all of us has been hard. It's been hard for the whole country going through it. We've come across so many things that we will never forget, and many, many of them have been bad, and many of them have been sad. But Captain Tom, or Captain Sir Tom, as I should call him, as I said in my report, he was quite simply a shining light through all of that. And I have to say, and I don't often say it, it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to have met him.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Well, still to come on the ITV Evening News, the race against the COVID variants as door-to-door testing begins in England. But why tonight? There is some encouraging news on the vaccine. That and more after the break, so do join me then. Hello again, welcome back. The efforts to locate and track the outbreak of the South Africa variant in England stepped up a pace today. Door-to-door surge testing was started in some of the affected areas, but there came some other concerning news about how the UK variant is mutating to be similar to that of the South Africa one. Experts say the vaccines will still offer protection. It came as the number of new UK infections continued to fall to 16,840, although that is still, of course, high. There were a further 1,449 deaths, with a 7-day average of daily deaths falling. And more than 9.5 million people have now had their first vaccine dose. Here's our health editor Emily Morgan on the worrying new strains.
It's early morning in Woking and the foot soldiers are out on the streets.
We're doing the COVID surge testing. Have you seen that on the news?
Yeah.
Great. So we're dropping off tests to everybody in the area that's happy to participate.
Okay, yeah.
Volunteers are helping to track down the South African variant of the virus by giving thousands of residents tests and telling them to stay at home.
It's been a full year now and everybody's getting, even myself, everybody's getting like fed up.
Some people probably think, oh, why do I need to bother? I'm not going to catch it, but nobody knows.
Surge testing like this will only help contain the new variant if residents actually take part. In Woking, at least, it appears take-up was good.
They're really, really positive. There are people staying at home waiting for us to come round.
In Ealing, they weren't even waiting. Dozens queued at mobile swabbing units. The mass testing was ordered in 8 areas of England, including parts of London, Walsall and Southport. But scientists are now also concerned about a mutation in the UK variant. 11 cases have been found in Bristol and in Liverpool. A mutation of the original virus detected in 32 cases has also sparked local testing. Both changes to the virus are similar to the South African variant.
In all these areas, it is imperative that people must stay at home and only leave home where it is absolutely essential. The action that we're putting into place is action to make sure that we stop further spread and further spread in the community.
The problem is, once a virus gets into a community, it is extremely difficult to contain it. Viruses don't respect postcodes. For instance, here in Woking, anyone who lives on this side of the road will be tested, but residents on that side of the road won't be. And there's a very large supermarket just there, which presumably everybody in this area uses. Nonetheless, scientists warn if it isn't contained, it could keep mutating and eventually evade immunity given by vaccines.
We've got to race against the virus in a way. It's a race between infection and injection. The more we can vaccinate and get the levels of infection down, the less variants will be generated.
We won't know quite how widespread the new variants are until the end of the week. Only then can we start to understand the true scale of the problem. Emily Morgan, ITV News.
OK, well, our science editor Tom Clark joins me now. Look, Tom, you know, everyone listening and watching here today is going to be worried sick about new strains, new variants. How worrying is it?
I think first really important to say these new variants don't cause any more severe disease. The type of COVID you get is exactly the same. The concern all centres around whether they've changed enough to be able to escape antibodies we've already made against COVID, either from an infection we've had before or from the vaccine that we've been given. So that's where the concern rises. We've obviously been concentrating on ones coming from outside the UK. I think what the new development today is that we're seeing the potential in the UK, first evidence that our own viruses can mutate themselves. And we've found at least 11 instances of the UK variant, which is more infectious, that's acquired one of the mutations that's in that South Africa variant that gives it that enhanced potential ability to escape our immune response. And a very early study today suggests that indeed it has an enhanced ability to evade people's antibodies who've been vaccinated. So it's a bit concerning, but not enough, we think. Only a modest reduction, so those vaccines should work. But it shows us in order to prevent, we're in a race now against the evolution of this virus, and the only way to win that race is to get cases down and to get the vaccine rolled out. OK, and talking of the vaccine, before the programme you said there is a bit of good news on the vaccination. So what is that? Because we'll grab it, I think. Great news now, and I think it's important on a day like today. There's more time has elapsed since the Oxford AstraZeneca team did their clinical trials. We've got a better read on the protection it's giving. A couple of bits of encouraging news. Firstly, one dose gives pretty good protection, about 76%. But more importantly, that longer gap, that 3-month gap between doses, it seems to further improve the level of protection up to 80%. So that's really good news for people who are worried about waiting. You'll actually get better protection. But possibly more importantly still, nearly 70% reduction in people who've been vaccinated against their ability to transmit the virus once they've been vaccinated. So once we've rolled that vaccine out widely, it could be a key to getting us out of lockdown. OK, bit of good news. Thank you for that, Tom. Bit of other news now, and schools in Scotland could start a phased return later this month. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon said the youngest pupils would likely be the first to go back full-time from the 22nd of February if cases of the virus continue to fall. Other COVID restrictions will remain in force until at least the end of the month. The EU has condemned threats made against staff making Brexit-related checks at ports in Northern Ireland. Inspection workers have been withdrawn from duty over security fears, while police patrols have been stepped up. And the Russian opposition leader, Alexei Navalny, has been sentenced to 3.5 years in jail. He was arrested last month when he returned to Moscow from Germany, where he was recovering from a nerve agent attack. Russian security services have been accused of carrying it out. His supporters have called for protests in response to his jailing. Now, heavy snowfall across northern England has caused chaos on the roads and led to the cancellation of planned coronavirus vaccinations. Yorkshire and Derbyshire were among the worst affected areas, and some motorists were stuck on the M62 overnight. Ben Chapman has the latest.
There may be fewer cars on the roads at the moment.
Right, I'll push you again, OK?
But for those whose journey was essential, it was a pretty miserable morning in Yorkshire. Heavy snow overnight, and this jackknife lorry closed the M62 motorway, leaving some drivers stuck for hours. And there were similar problems further north, as those trying to cross the Pennines were confronted with up to 6 inches of snow.
Stopped, took a 15-minute break and then went to set off. I got a little way and then just wouldn't go any further.
There were some who really wanted to get out today, but not for the first time. Vaccination appointments were disrupted by the weather. The Yorkshire Showground Centre reopened this afternoon after cancelling and rescheduling all its appointments this morning.
There's no reason why we shouldn't hit the target for mid-February. Despite these slight snow interruptions, we'll get ahead and get them all done.
And that interruption will be short-lived. The snow is now turning to rain here as temperatures begin to rise, but that has created the next weather warning for heavy rain tonight and into tomorrow, which combined with melting snow could lead to some flooding over the coming days. But while it lasted, the snow was light relief for many, despite police warning that going sledging could breach COVID rules. They denied they were being killjoys. But 400 schools were closed today, and for others it was a welcome break from home learning.
It's just nice to be off screens, to be honest. Yeah. It's kind of difficult and everyone's always online, so it's nice to spend time together during the day for once.
We've been doing the woods since March, so you can imagine we know every tree. So when there's a snow, it just makes it a bit more exciting.
Coming a month into this lockdown, it was either a day of disruption or a day of distraction, depending on how you spent it. Ben Chapman, ITV News, Leeds.
Well, just before we go, let's return to our main story this evening, the very sad death from coronavirus of Captain Sir Tom Moore. His family said the final year of his life had been remarkable. From completing the first of those 100 laps in his garden to the extraordinary total he raised, almost £33 million for the NHS. Quite some way to celebrate a 100th birthday. Then becoming the oldest person to have a #1 single, duetting with Michael Ball. And of course being knighted by the Queen. A remarkable year for a remarkable gentleman. His family said he will stay alive in their hearts forever. Rest in peace, Captain Sir Tom Moore. From all of us here, good night.